Hello everyone. So what I'm going to do today is that I will first show you how disconnect callback work. And for that, I have created two components. One is the disconnect demo child component and the other one is disconnect demo parent component. What I'm going to do, I will put the child component inside the parent component and then I will try to show you how it works. So for now, what we have done, we have created disconnect demo parent component and just adding a lightning card in it, which says that this is the parent component. Okay, nothing else has been added as of now. Similarly, we will add this on the child component as well. And we will call it child component. Okay, and we will store it. Now this is our parent component. I want to put the child inside it, so I am going to disconnect demo parent component. This is our child component, and that's how we're going to put it. Okay, very simple scenario it is, nothing as such which we have not explored yet. Now let us deploy this and see how it looks on the page. Okay, let me see. Just a second. Yes. All right, I will go to the home page of Sales App and we'll try to add the parent component. Let us also remove the other components which I've added earlier, because they will also have a couple of console statements and I don't want to confuse you with those. Search. So ours is disconnect callback parent component. Let's head here. All right, maximum call stack size exceeded. Let's see what it is. We're getting this. We don't have any such thing which will cause the infinite loop.
You called the parent component again.
Yep, that is fine. So it is re-rendering again and again, and that is why the callback is happening again and again. And that is why the maximum call stack limit reached. All right, I think it is fine. That's how we build it, right? Just the parent component and the child component. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a console statement here, okay? And I'm going to put it inside the disconnect callback, okay? And I'm going to say that console.log, and this will say that disconnect and in the parent component, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a property which says that show child. This is a Boolean property. I'm going to put a value true there. Okay. And here I'm going to say that in the HTML of it, I'm going to put a template there. Okay. This will say that the template and put it from here, put it here, and I will only show a child component if our show child property is equals to true, then only we are going to show the child component. Otherwise, we will not show the child component. Now, I will create a button. Okay. All right, I will name it hide child. Okay. And you can name it anything. I will name it hide change. Hide change handler. And on click of it, I'm going to call the function hide change handler. Okay, which will get an event as input. And this will do what? This will just mark it as false. Okay, see. So what we did, we just added one console.log inside the disconnect callback. This will get executed if disconnect callback will be called on the child parent. Okay, and the moment on the parent, what we did, we created one button which has a function hide change handler which will mark the show child as true, so that we will hide this from the page the moment we click on that button. The moment we click on the button, child will be hidden. Child will be disconnected from the parent components DOM. So disconnect child callback on the child will be called at that time, and we should be able to see the console.log. That is the whole purpose of doing this exercise. Okay, now let's see if it is actually working or not. So I'm going to refresh this. Initially, it should be visible. The child component should be visible because the default value is true. Okay. So currently, child component is visible. And let me go back to the page. Let me open the inspect. Let me delete all these items. And let me just click on hide child. So the moment we click on hide child, child got hidden from the page and disconnect callback on child has been called. So this console.log we are able to display. So that is the purpose of the exercise, that I wanted to show you how disconnected callback gets called. Whenever a child component gets removed from the DOM of the parent component, then the disconnect callback is getting called. That is why whenever you get this question in an interview, I hope now you will be able to explain it properly. Any doubt on this, guys?
No, sir.
Perfect. Now let us talk about the interview failures. Yesterday, somebody told me that how to handle the failures and how to handle the stress related to the interviews. Okay, see, interview failure is a very common thing. I mean, obviously it will happen most of the time. I mean, if you give 10 interviews, in the all likelihood you will fail around 6 interviews at least. You will get selected in 4 interviews. Okay, so all don't go for the proportion like how many you failed or how many you passed, because your failure percentage will always be greater than your success percentage. Okay, if you are getting selected on each and every interview, that means you're not applying for the company you should have been applying to. Those companies are too easy for you. So failure is basically for us to learn from those. Never fail for the same mistake again. So let's say if an interview you were not able to tell the life cycle hook, or if you were not able to tell the order of execution, then there should never be any other interview where you fail because of the order of execution. That should be your rule. For every interview you give, if you failed or if you feel that these are the questions which you were not able to answer, and these are the questions because of those you were not able to clear this interview, you should prepare those questions well enough before your next interview, so that you never fail because of the same reason again. That should always be a rule. And then see, after giving couple of interviews, you will realize that questions are same. It's just that the way of asking is different, and the way you answer is different. And you also need to work on how you deliver the answer. I mean, there is a difference between knowing something and being able to tell something. Okay, if you know something but not able to tell properly, then your knowing is not providing you any value in the interviews. Okay, in actual work, if you know something, you will be able to do, because you have to do at your own pace and at your own work. But in an interview, if you know how to deliver the answer, that becomes really crucial. So you work on the delivering answer and how good you are able to deliver an answer. So if I ask somebody that how do we communicate from parent to child? Okay, so one person will say that okay, on the child I will create a variable which will have at the rate API decorator, and from the parent I will just pass the data in it, and that's how we communicate from parent to child. That is correct, that is not wrong, but that is not an impressive answer to give in a question like this. There are n number of ways you can answer this, and there are n number of options available. You can use that, and that's what we are going to do in the next section. So knowing something and being able to tell something is two different things. Always understand these things and focus on how do you tell that thing in an impressive manner, rather than focusing on you knew that. Yes, you knew that, but interview doesn't know. Okay, so you need to make sure that you're able to explain or able to make him understand properly. Okay. And see,
Yes.
after giving couple of interviews, you will realize that questions will get repeated. So it's all about your preparation on how you prepare for all the failed questions in an interview. So if you are failing in, let's say if you failed in couple of interviews, there must be reasons for those failures. There must be couple of questions or topic which you were not able to answer. You need to prepare those questions and topic, and you need to have confidence in you. See, nobody else is going to do this for you. This is your journey, and down the line, after 4 or 5 years, you will be proud of the your hard work you are doing this period. So be ready to do hard work, be ready to explore, and grind the questions. Try to talk to yourself how better you can answer this question. Let's say if somebody asks you what is the deployment, how you used to do the deployment, try to think about how impressively you can answer this. Like, obviously you can say that you use change sets, and there are n number of things available for the deployment, but obviously you cannot say all those things, because if you say all those things, there will be cross question. So you need to find the things on which you are comfortable. You need to find the things of which you can answer the question. And let's say if there is something trending in the market related to that particular thing, then at least get some basics idea about those trending things. Because if there is something trending going on a particular thing or particular topic, then if you just know the basics of it as well, that also makes a huge difference between you and your competitor. Okay, so being aware is also equally important than knowing something. All right, no problem. I'll cover the communication part now. So again, first we will cover the how do we communicate from parent to child. Parent to child communication is fairly very simple. We pass some data from parent and child should be able to get that data. But this also has multiple layers inside it and we are going to explore those layers one by one. Okay. So now let me again open the editor. We will close these components. Okay. I'm not going to reuse them because if in case you require these codes, I should be able to give you those. I will create a new component and I'm going to name it demo communication parent component. I always prefer to have my HTML file on left and JavaScript file on the right. Okay, but I mean, kind of have a convention so that you do not get confused between these files. And then other one will be demo communication child component. Right, open the JS file. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let's say in the parent component, let's have a p tag. This is the parent component. Okay, or we can have the lightning as well. The title, which is parent component. Okay, similarly, I will do this for the child component as well. And child component, and this is child component. Very simple. So far, so good. Say like card. Okay. Oh, let's see. Child component, right? Okay. P tag is not lost. Okay. All right. So this is what we did. Now on the from the parent component, let us include the child component. Okay. So how are we gonna do that? Demo dash communication dash child. So that's how we are going to put the child component inside the parent component. So far, so good. Let's just add this on our page.
Sir, what type of naming convention that we called?
Sorry,
The naming convention name that we use to
this
call
is
the.
kebab. This is the kebab case, lower kebab case to be precise.
Okay.
Okay. See, kebab case is a variable naming convention where each word is in lowercase and separated by dashes. So if you got a uppercase word, you will separate it by a dash and then put it as a lowercase word. Okay. There are different names and they call it different name by it. But you, if in an interview, you get to know, if you get to ask, then you will say that this is a kebab case. Okay. Let me remove this from our page, and what we named it demo child, demo parent commit component, and demo child component. So let me add the parent component, and no surprises as of now. We are able to add it. All right, now we will go back to the editor again. And what I'm going to do in the JS HTML, I'm going to add a tag again. The name passed by parent component. So I will pass a name from parent component and I'm going to display it on the child component. Okay. So for that, I need to create a name variable. Okay. Let's call it passed name. So this is something which parent will pass. Okay. But in order to get it, we have to use the API decorator. Okay. Without API decorator, parent will not be able to pass something to child. I mean, parent will pass, but child will not be able to get it. So API decorator will make this passed name variable as a public property so that another parent can pass some value to it. And here on the HTML of it, I'm going to display that. That's what we did on the child component. From the parent component, I need to send that value. Okay. So the first way is to send that value as a static value. And as the name is passed name, where P is small but N is capital, we again going to use the kebab case naming convention, and we will write it like passed dash name equals to, and here I can pass the name in a static manner like this. Okay. So this name should match with the variable name available on the child component. It's just that it should follow the kebab case naming convention. So we have to break it in the past dash name, and N should be smaller. That's how we did it here. Okay. And it should pass the name Mohit from parent component to child component. And in the HTML of child, I should be able to see Mohit as a value in this line. Okay. So now let's go back to our UI and see if it is working or not. We refresh this. All right, so you can see a name passed by parent component and we got the value. This value was passed by parent and received by a child. Okay. This is one way of doing it, but hardly you will be using it because obviously nobody is going to put it as a static value on the tag itself. So what we most of the time do is that what we also can do is that we can create a variable, let's say name, and we can provide a value here. Let's say, let me change it to Vikas. And instead of sending it as a static value, I'm going to send it dynamically by using the name variable, which we have created here. This need not to have the API decorator or any decorator, okay? Because we are passing this to child and parent already has that value. We did not to do anything. We just need to save this. What we changed here is that instead of passing is as a hard-coded value, we are using the name variable and then we are passing that to our child component. Let me see the UI, if it is able to reflect those changes. Now we are able to see the Vikas as a value. Okay, so this is another way of doing it. Now, what I want to show you is that this is just a string we were able to pass, but will we be able to pass the objects as well? So that is something we will see now. These are the primitive types. Let's see if we are able to say the able to send the objects as well. So for that, I will create an object here. Let's say sample obj, where we have two properties. One is name and other one is, let's say, age. And let's say age is 15. Name is, let's say, Yogesh. Okay, save it here. What we need to do on the child is to create a variable to hold this as well. Okay, so I will create a variable API and I will name it past obj. Okay, let me save this. From the parent, I will, just like we are passing a sample string or just the name, we will pass the obj as well. Obj is equals to, what is the name of that object? It is sample obj. So we will use sample obj. And in the HTML of child, I want to display that, right? Because that's the whole purpose of having it. So on the HTML of it, let's say I'm going to have another P where I will say obj passed by parent. You will not be able to display the object directly. So you will have to use the one of the property of it. So let's say I'm only going to display the name of it. Okay. All right, let's see. Lightning card, no merchant confirm on the child component. Okay, I need to end the P tag as well. Guys, always remember whenever we write LWC in some external editor or something, always start and end the tag in the beginning itself and then write the code inside it. Otherwise, we will most of the time forget to close that tag. Okay. So what we did here, from the parent component, we have created an object. Okay. And this object has two values. One is name, other one is age. And then similar to the name, we are passing the object as well. This is basically to tell you that if we can pass the non-primitive data type or not from parent to child. Okay. And then in the child, what we did, we created one variable to receive the value of this object. And then on the UI, we are displaying that particular object's name. That's it. Pretty simple. Okay. I will save this. Now, let me refresh this. Okay, there must be some naming spelling mistake. So let me see that. Okay.
सर ऑब्जेक्ट के आगे वो ट्रैक देना चाहिए या नहीं चाहिए?
Just a second.
ट्रैक प्रॉपर्टी.
Just a second. Let me check out. Will I be able to pass without giving track? ट्रैक देते हैं, ठीक है?
क्योंकि मेरे को लगता है कि वो पहले जब आप बोल रहे थे ना वो अनडिफाइंड रहता है एंड देन चेंज होता है, तो इसके लिए आई गेस पास नहीं हुआ होगा मे बी।
देखते हैं ना, करके देख लेते हैं। ओके ओके, और तो कोई गलती मुझे लग नहीं रही है अपने कोड में, फिर भी एक बार गो थ्रू कर लेते हैं। सो हमने पेरेंट से, पेरेंट में एक वेरिएबल बनाया, इंपोर्ट किया, उसे भेजा, नेम की स्पेलिंग सही है, ठीक है, और सेम नेम की स्पेलिंग हमने भेज दी, पास टू विचेस, पास टू विचेस, सैंपल OBJ was the variable name here, पीछे भेज दिया, चाइल्ड ने गेट कर लिया, फिर यहाँ पे हमने डिस्प्ले करा दिया, ठीक है। लेट्स सी, आई डोंट सी एनी प्रॉब्लम इन इट। Yes, now we are able to get it. Okay, so we have to use the track decorator as well in order to make sure that our object is getting tracked. Okay, and we will be able to pass the non-primitive data as well from the parent to child. So now you can you see the difference, that how you normally answer it, like how do we communicate from parent to child, is like we should have a property at the rate API in the child, and we pass data to directly to the child. And now how you can answer it is that there are multiple ways and different techniques to send data from parent to child. We can pass data as a static value, a hard-coded value from the child, from the parent to child, by creating a variable on the child component and making sure that it has a track, it has an API decorator, and we can pass the value from parent as a hard-coded value, or we can use a property on the parent component and can pass the value of that property in the child component. That is also possible. We can also pass the non-primitive data type like objects from parent to child by using the same technique. So now you have more concrete evidences and more solid understanding of your concept. Your answer should not finish in one line if that answer requires you to explain something. Okay, so these type of questions are the questions which will ask you to explain them properly. If you have example, you can help with the example as well, but do not finish your answer in a single line. Okay, make yourself comfortable with explaining these type of questions, because these are the brownie pointers. These are the questions which will give you brownie points, which will give you ample amount of opportunity to explain the fundamental concept and build a good rapport with the interviewer. Okay, we are not finished with this question yet. This is just the half of it. There are different ways to do it even now also. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, abhi till now we are doing whatever we have passed it with the help of property, or we have passed as a static value. These are just the the normal way. But what we can do now, we can create it. This feedback should be here. What I'm going to do, we are going to pass a value to child component on an event on parent component. Okay, so let's say we have an input field. Okay, lightning, what I told you, now we are going to pass a value to child component whenever an event happen on a parent component. Okay, so let's say this lighting input tag has a, just a second, I'm going to take the whole thing. So I'm going to put the name here. Okay, and then we will pass that name. Okay. So what I'm going to do on change, we will have a property which is on change handler. Okay. See, what I'm going to do, I'm going to provide an input tag in the parent component where you can actually type the name of it. And the moment you change the name, the updated name will be passed to the child component. So in a way, we are passing a property to a child component whenever an event happens on the parent component, and this event happens. So on the first load, whenever the page loads, it will pass the static value, which is Vikas, but we also have an option to input the name, and the moment we change that name from that input tag, this event handler will be called, and this event will change the value of the name, and then we will pass the updated name to the child component. So what we are essentially doing, we are passing a variable to our child component on an event occurrence on the parent component. Okay, so this is another way. So to accomplish this, we have to write down the name change handler. See here, I was sure of the name, but always copy these names from here. Copy it and paste it. See, JavaScript will not work even if there is a slight mistake of capital or a smaller letter. Okay, so always prefer copy paste in JavaScript when it comes to the name. All right, and here what we will do, this dot name equals to event dot target dot value. So this will change the name of it. So on first attempt, it will pass Vikas because it is the default value. And then we will get an option to change it, and your child component should receive the updated name as per that. Okay. Let me refresh it. Input tag is not here yet. Now we have got the input tag. Okay. So now if I change it, let's say if I write down Mohit, then it will have the updated value, because on every change, when I typed M, it passed M. When I typed O, it passed O. On every change of it, we have a change handler, which is firing the value from parent to child. Anybody has any doubt in this? You have to explain this in an interview, is that we can pass some value from parent to child on an event occurrence of a parent. I have also written this on my notes that this is one of the way. We are still covering parent to child communication, and we have almost covered around 30 minutes, explaining that thing. So I expect you to explain this thing at least 3-4 minutes in an interview to get the maximum value out of this question. Okay, it is not as simple as just sending data from parent and child receiving it with the help of API decorator. That answer will finish in 10 seconds, but I want you to explain everything associated with that and different ways associated with that. Yes, of course, your child need to have an API decorator, and yes, of course, you need to pass the data from parent to parent component to child component, but there are so many layers attached in it, and I want you to unwrap all the layers in front of interviewer if given an opportunity, of course. Okay, so you are able to understand this?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Now there is a not fourth way, but there is another layer attached to it, which I'm going to explore with you now. Okay, so what we can do, we can call the child component method as well in the parent component, and can pass data to child component with that. Getting my point, what I'm trying to say?
No, sir.
Hmm.
Can you repeat?
Yes, I will elaborate it. I will show you the example as well. Okay, just give me a second. All right, so let's say on our parent component, we have another input tag. Okay, lightning input. Let's give it a name label as the surname. Okay, and on change, I'm calling a handler which is surname change handler. Right. So what I'm going to do, there will be a variable which is surname in the parent component, and I have to pass this surname to child component. But I will not pass it traditionally by appending the child here and then passing the variable name here. I will not do it like that. I will do it differently. Okay, so what I'm going to do, this is an input tag where I will enter the surname on the parent component and then I will pass that to child component. How I'm going to do that? So on the event occurrence of the change on the surname input tag, I'm going to call this event handler, surname change handler. Okay. And this will take event as an input. And what I'm going to do here is that first, let us change the value of, let us give the value to the surname. So this dot surname equals to event dot target dot value, so that whatever we enter in the surname input tag will be assigned to the surname property. And then what we used to do earlier, we used to pass that value here. So if had I been working with the traditional way, I would have written the surname here and then passed the value of surname here. Okay, but we are exploring another way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the child component here. Child component, and how I'm going to get it? This dot template dot query locator query selector, and so by doing this, I will get the child component. Let me copy the name of it. We already have a child component attached in the parent component HTML, so we can get the child component like this. This dot template dot query selector, and then get the any tag you have in the HTML, you can get it by this. If you want to get this P tag, you can also get it. Okay. So that's how you get the tag, the child component. And then now when you can access the child component, you can also access the method available inside the child component. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to call the method of it, which is currently we do not have any surname change handler method in the child component. So what I'm going to do, I will create a surname change handler in the child component. Okay. Surname change handler. And this is getting called from your parent component. So whatever data you pass from this method, you will be able to receive it here in this particular method. So currently I'm not going to pass anything. I will first show you how what we are going to do. So, and also let us create a property surname here, because we are going to display the value of it. Okay. And this dot surname equals to, let's suppose we will get a surname from here, from our parent components method. Okay, I will explain you this in detail. Don't worry about it. Just a second, so that I finish the HTML part and do not miss anything. Now here I will create a, let's say, a p tag. This is the surname passed by parent components method. Okay, and what is the value? Value is, what is the value? Let us just copy the surname. Okay, first let us come back to this. What I did, we have an input, we have a field called we have an input field which is whose name label is surname, and on the change of it, we are calling the surname change handler. This surname change handler is assigning value to this surname variable on the parent component, and then we are getting the child component by this. And if we can get the child component, we can also get the method of it. So what is the method name? Let's just copy it from here. Surname change handler, and then we can pass data to it. What we need to pass is surname. How we are going to pass it? This dot surname. Okay. And we will save this. Okay. And then we should receive it here. Okay. Let us write down a couple of console statements to see if in case we fail to get what we will see till what process we reached. So first we will write a console.log. We will name it as surname change handler parent is called. Okay. Similarly, on the child, we will write a console.log. Surname change handler on child is called. There is still one missing piece, that is we have to append the @API decorator. So what we are essentially doing is that we are making this method as a public method, so that instead of passing a value to a particular variable, we are passing a value to a particular method. This method itself is a public method. So not only values, but also not only properties, but methods can also be public, and we can pass value to the methods. In this case, if you notice, we have not made surname as an API property. We are only making this method as an API property. Okay. So we have written to console.logs as well in order to make sure that we are able to debug this. Refresh this. And now we have the surname input tag available here. If I type the value here, the default behavior says that we should start getting the value here. So if everything goes right, we will be able to get the value directly here. Okay, it is not right. So in that case, let us see till where we have reached. Okay. Surname change handler on parent is called. Okay, but it is not going to the child component. Okay, so we will see what is going wrong. First, we will see the parent component, and we will see this dot template dot query selector. Child component. Let us see if we are able to get a value here. What else could go wrong? Okay, let's see. That's the beauty of doing it live. You get to see actual problems we face in the real time. Had I copied it from somewhere else, this would have not been the case. But that's not obviously my preferred approach. So let's open the inspect and let's write the. Okay, it is getting called, but it is not passing anything. So name change handler called on the parent, but we are not getting the value, like the console.log on the value side. Okay, something must be wrong.
Sir, can we apply a breakpoint thing
Sorry?
for debugging?
Yeah, if
Can we apply breakpoint for debugging or LWC?
yes, of course you can do that. There are so many things you can do that. But I prefer to do it without adding the breakpoints. I kind of get it.
More the target spelling is wrong.
Yeah. So because we wrote this console.log.
Yes.
I got it. So because we write this console.log and this tag, I mean, we were not able to get the value in this. Okay, so problem was somewhere within this itself. Okay, and now as we easily identify, this is because of the misspelling of the target. Okay, you can add the breakpoints and you can do a lot of things in the inspect. Okay, if I show you the inspect.
Sir, please explain like one by one so that I can resolve the problem in real time as well.
Yeah, that's why that is the whole purpose of showing you these things live. Of course.
Yeah.
And you will have the
Yes, sir.
recording as well. So you can go through that. So now if I write down the value on the parent component, you will be able to see the value in the child component directly. This time we did not pass it via the traditional route. So traditionally, how we used to do that, we used to pass the value here, and then we used to have a variable name with the API decorator on the child component. But this time, how we did, we called a method of the child component in the parent component, okay, and then passed the value. And interesting thing is that if you return something from child as well, that value will also be passed to parent. So let's say if you pass something like return, this is this string is returned by child component. Let's say you write this and you return something, you have to get that return here. Okay. So you can write down like const run message is equals to, and then you can console it, or you can use it in your parent component as well. Like if you want to display something on the page, you can do that. So once it looked like a very simple concept, very easy to answer question. Now we have spent almost an hour doing all these things with the different ways. So I now feel that your answer will have more concrete, evidences earlier. Let me delete it. Okay. So now if I, let's say, pass something, you will see that return message is getting consoled. So in the parent, you were able to get this string as a return, and you can use this, or you can pass the actual values from the child component as well. So by doing this, you were not only able to pass something from parent, but your child was also able to pass something to your parent. Okay. This is the approach I want you all to explain in an interview whenever you get this question, how you can pass data from your parent to child. Clear enough, guys?
Yes, sir. Sir, can we use like template.query selector all as well? Like currently we are using query selector
Yep, of
only.
course you can
Is
use
there
it.
any
It's JavaScript. This supports everything what you can do with the HTML. If your use case requires you, you can obviously do that. Let's say for all p tags, you need to set a background. For all p tags, let's say you need to set the background, or you need to make them bold, or you need to, provide a border. All p tags, then you will get all the p tags. Of course, that is possible. Okay.
Okay.
So from parent to child communication, anybody has any doubt?
हेलो सर.
Yep. Hi.
सर वो कोड में पेरेंट जेएस 80 लाइन मुझे समझ में नहीं आई.
Okay, just a second. Parent में JS फाइल में 18 लाइन. Okay.
सर सी हाइफन डेमो कम्युनिकेशन चैट, यहाँ पे कौन सा डेटा आएगा सर?
यहाँ पे ये चाइल्ड कंपोनेंट का पूरा टैग आउट करके आ जाएगा. whatever is there. See, हमने क्या किया है, चाइल्ड कंपोनेंट को यहाँ पे ऐड करा है. ठीक है. तो हम चाइल्ड कंपोनेंट को डेटा पास कर रहे हैं और जो भी कुछ कर रहे हैं. तो अगर हम इस चाइल्ड कंपोनेंट के टैग को गेट करा लेते हैं अपने जावा में, तो ये पूरा का पूरा चाइल्ड कंपोनेंट अपने पास आ जाता है. अब जो कुछ भी इस चाइल्ड कंपोनेंट में है वो सब हम यहाँ पे एक्सेस कर सकते हैं. ठीक है. अब हम क्या कर रहे हैं, हम सिर्फ उसके एक मेथड को एक्सेस कर रहे हैं ताकि हम उसमें एक डेटा पास कर सकें. बट जब आप इसको गेट कर लेते हो तो आप इसमें कुछ भी कर सकते हो. आपको कुछ ऐड करना है, लेट्स से सीएसएस ऐड करनी है इस कंपोनेंट में, वो भी आप यहाँ से कर सकते हो. ठीक है. सो पेरेंट के पास जैसे ही टैग आ
Sir,
जाता है. हाँ.
So in case of parent child, right? So if you are returning from the method, then you also say that like this is a child to parent communication. You can also send data from child to parent as well. If you are talking about parent
वो क्या रहा है,
to child communication only.
यहाँ पे क्या होता है कि पेरेंट खुद ही वो डेटा ले रहा है, क्योंकि जो कम्युनिकेशन स्टार्ट हुआ है ना, वो पेरेंट से स्टार्ट हुआ है. ठीक है. और चाइल्ड कुछ मेथड, हम अगर इसको ऐसे स्ट्रक्चर करें तो हमें कुछ रिटर्न मिल सकता है. जैसे लेट से हम कॉल करते हैं चाइल्ड को और हमें कंफर्मेशन में चाहिए कि हाँ कॉल हुई है, डेटा चाइल्ड ने पास कर दिया है, तो उस टाइप के कंफर्मेशन मैसेज हम ले सकते हैं. जो चाइल्ड टू पेरेंट कम्युनिकेशन होता है उसमें जो कम्युनिकेशन स्टार्ट होता है वो चाइल्ड से स्टार्ट होता है. यहाँ पे जो कम्युनिकेशन स्टार्ट हो रहा है ना, वो पेरेंट से स्टार्ट हो रहा है. डेटा आप बिल्कुल पास करा सकते हो. अगर आप ऐसा कोई यूज केस लिखते हो जिसमें आपने पेरेंट से चाइल्ड को डेटा पास किया और फिर चाइल्ड से आपको कुछ रिटर्न में मिले, तो आप इसको यूज कर सकते हो और आपको जाएगा. बट जैसे चाइल्ड टू पेरेंट कम्युनिकेशन जब होता है तो वहां पे ना जो कम्युनिकेशन स्टार्ट होता है ना, वो चाइल्ड से स्टार्ट होता है. यहाँ पे वो नहीं हो रहा है. तो जब कभी भी हमको वो क्वेश्चन आएगा कि हाउ डू वी कम्युनिकेट फ्रॉम चाइल्ड टू पेरेंट, तो हम ये अप्रोच नहीं लिख सकते, क्योंकि ये जो अप्रोच है ये स्टार्ट ही पेरेंट से हो रही है. ठीक है. तो इसके अंदर जो कुछ भी आएगा वो पेरेंट टू चाइल्ड कम्युनिकेशन के अंदर आएगा, ना कि चाइल्ड टू पेरेंट में. ठीक है. बट हम ये एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं कि अगर हम पेरेंट टू चाइल्ड कॉल कर रहे हैं तो इस अप्रोच के थ्रू हम चाइल्ड से कोई कंफर्मेशन मैसेज ले सकते हैं, या कोई भी वेरिएबल का डेटा हमें चाहिए, या हम लेट से कुछ पेज में चेंज कर रहे हैं तो हमें सक्सेस मैसेज चाहिए कि सक्सेस हुआ या नहीं हुआ, तो वो सारी चीजें हम यहाँ पे चाइल्ड में ऐसे लिख सकते हैं कि मतलब इफ यहाँ पे नाम चेंज हुआ, अगर सरनेम में एक्चुअल में प्रॉपर वैल्यू आई तो हम यहाँ पे लिख सकते हैं कि इफ वैल्यू इज फाइन देन वी विल चेंज द नेम ऑफ इट, एल्स we will say that this the value received was blank or undefined or whatever we want to, and we can send the confirmation message to parent component again. ठीक है, तो ये ऐसे टाइप के यूज केसेस के लिए, बट चाइल्ड टू पेरेंट कम्युनिकेशन में हम इस मेथड को इस टेक्निक को यूज नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि वहां पे कम्युनिकेशन जो स्टार्ट होता है वो चाइल्ड से स्टार्ट होता है, उसके अलग टेक्निक्स हैं, उन पे हम अलग बात करेंगे। इस वाली टेक्निक में हम फोकस कर रहे हैं सिर्फ पेरेंट टू चाइल्ड कम्युनिकेशन में, बट इसमें एडवांटेज ये है कि आप इस अप्रोच के थ्रू चाइल्ड से भी कुछ डेटा ले सकते हो इन रिटर्न और वट एवर, इफ यू वॉन्ट टू गेट अ वेरिएबल और समथिंग, वो भी आप ले सकते हो। तो दिस इज अ मोर फ्लेक्सिबल अप्रोच। ये बहुत रेयरली यूज होती है क्योंकि अपने यूज केस इतने सिंपल होते हैं कि एक वेरिएबल का डेटा भेज दो, एक ऑब्जेक्ट का डेटा भेज दो, तो यूज केसेस बहुत सिंपल होते हैं। बट एज ए डेवलपर आपको ये पता होना चाहिए कि ऐसा कुछ भी होता है, क्योंकि जब आप बड़े बड़े कंपोनेंट बनाओगे तो ऐसी चीजों की जरूरत आपको पड़ेगी। ठीक है, गेटिंग माय पॉइंट?
तो जैसे अगर क्या मैं सर जैसे एरे लिस्ट वगैरह भेज सकता हूँ चाइल्ड से, पेरेंट से चाइल्ड में?
बिल्कुल भेज सकते हो, बिल्कुल भेज सकते हो। जो डेटा टाइप ये सपोर्ट करता है वो आप बिल्कुल भेज सकते हो, कोई ऐसी रिस्ट्रिक्शन नहीं। दैट इज व्हाई आई शोड यू कि ऑब्जेक्ट भेज सकते हैं या नहीं। इसके अंदर अगर ये नेम एक सिंपल नेम की जगह एक लिस्ट होता तो भी चला जाता। ठीक है, अब आप करके जो भी आपकी ये डाउट है इनको आप करके देखना। You should practically see if you are able to send a list or not, if you are able to say the array of list or not, or if in case you face any problem, then you will talk to me and tell me that it's not possible, I am not able to do this. Then we will see together if it is possible or not. Okay?
Okay.
Perfect. So earlier we used to answer this question in just 10-20 seconds. How do we communicate from parent to child? Now, how much time will we take to answer this? Guys, tell me.
4 to 5.
Yes, whatever you can explain. At least you have 3-4 approaches to say. Start with a very simple approach. You can say that we can directly pass data from parent to child by creating a variable in child and decorating with @API decorator. And then we need to pass that data to child from the parent. Now, on the parent side, we have several options to pass data. First, we can send it as a static value, as a hard-coded value in the component's HTML itself. But that is not a recommended approach because that will be a very limited approach and will always be passing a same value every time. So what we can do, we can create a variable in the JavaScript of parent and we can pass that property to our child variable. Okay. That is the another approach. The third option is that we should send data to our child component on the event occurrence on a parent component. Like we had that name change handler. So the moment we change the name, we should send the updated name. So that is something where we are sending data to child component on the event occurrence on the parent component. So that is the third approach. And the fourth approach is that we can send data to our child component by calling the method of a child component in the parent component. That is the most advanced approach, and that gives us more flexibility in terms of we can also receive a message from the child component as well. Okay, so I hope you will be able to explain all these things in an interview. If you want me to send you the code of all things, you can do that. That will be a starter code, but these are very easy code. You can just go through recording and create your own. It will not take much time. These are the simpler codes, so you can also do that. All right.
Sir, you told that the query selector, after writing this template.query selector and the child component name, we can access the child component. So only the API parameters only, right? Like API properties only.
We have made this method as API method. That is why we are able to get it. If we will not make it as an API method, we will not be able to get it. But as you can see, you have not made this surname as an API, yet you were able to change the value of it. So if you make the variable as a API, a method as an API, you can still use whatever things are available on your page. Getting my point? So it's not
Yeah,
like
whatever under the
Yep.
method,
Yes.
whatever under.
Yes, that is the whole purpose. So instead of making a property as a public property, we are making a method as a public method. That's it. Okay. And then you can
Got
use. All right. See, now we have to talk about the child to parent communication, but I don't think I should start it because that will finish in the in between, and that requires a whole topic, whole session itself, because that also will, I mean, I want to do it with the practical examples. Do you want me to do it without practical examples, guys? Like just telling you how do we communicate? I don't think that will
No, sir.
not.
No, sir.
That will not help a lot, because when we do things practically, then only we learn more. We also get couple of problems and then we see and resolve those problems. That I think becomes a better exercise than just telling you how it is possible. Like from child to parent, we will call an event and then event will be fired and will be captured in the parent. I think by just telling you that this is an important interview question, that will not help you a lot, because you already know that that is an important interview question. But what help you is that when I actually show you all these things practically. So in the next session, we will talk about the child to parent communication and different ways. So basically there are two ways. One is by firing an event and other one is by bubbling it to the upper components, upper in the hierarchy. We will also talk about the event propagation, how event propagates in the DOM, and how child receives the data from the, sorry, how parent receive the data from the child. Okay. That should be the session about tomorrow. And we will also talk about how do we communicate between the unrelated components. Okay. I hope this session was helpful for you. I'm going to stop the recording now.